Hello everybody, welcome to See the Logic. This is Mohan, one of the co-founding members of See the Logic, and today's video we are going to learn about ETL and automating ETL on Databricks to Azure SQL DB. If you are new in the industry, so I can tell you from my experience, there has been a shift in the data engineering and data analytics role. So if you are likely to land a new role, you might require some extra skill sets, and one of them is Databricks and PySpark. As the data is growing, companies are adopting new technologies which can handle large volume of data. And for this purpose, they require to proceed with an ETL pipeline to stimulate their data streaming and data storing in an efficient manner. For this purpose, they use Databricks for creating any kind of transformation and also for ETL scheduling. So eventually we are going to have any source. This could be any source of your choice as well. But for this video purpose, we are using stock data from BSC API, and we are using Databricks for our data transformation. And for the loading part, we are targeting our Azure SQL database. Why we are doing this part? Since when data is ready to available in our database, we can always start with our analytics, creating the BI layer. This is going to be end-to-end data analytics project. You can also use this project in your resume. This is going to be very much helpful, and this is help you to land your interview as well. So let me just show you. Yeah, right there. So this is the API script which I have written. What you need to do, you need to go in your Azure. Let me just duplicate. Yeah. What you need to do, in case if you do not have Azure, first of all, this is not something new. You need a Azure account. You need to have Azure database, and please create a database. In case if you do not know how to create a Azure account and how to create an Azure database, let me know. I'm going to help you out. And there is a heavy offer going on. You will going to receive some 32 GB resource from Azure to learn Azure services. So when you do that part, you're going to start with, you can see I do have one SQL database. I do have one virtual machine, which is used by Azure Databricks. This is although I did not have created, but when I had created this Azure Databricks workspace, that itself created my virtual machine. On top of that, this Azure Databricks runs because every resource requires an environment. This is my subscription, and this is my SQL Server, right? Okay. So when you go there into a SQL Server, you will see connection strings from there. Just a minute. Yeah. So we go back and we need to check in our database. So there is the connection string which we are going to use for our connection. So right there. So you can, in case you can see, this is my host. This piece of code is my host. This is my port, and this can accept like there are multiple parameters as well. But you can see my user ID and password, which I'm not going to tell you. But yeah, there is a password as well. So if I go back to my Azure Databricks, you need to initiate a Databricks, and then you can start with the code. So I'm using BSC library for this purpose, but you are not able to install this BSC library by this. What you're going to need to do, because this is a compute, and whenever a compute starts, the library needs to be installed within the compute as well. So what we can do, we need to go to compute there, and we need to go to job compute. Let me see what we need to do always. Let's check in catalog. There is a library section. Yeah, let's see. One of them should contain a library section. This is Hive. No, that is not the case. This is not features, models, serving, partner correct. It should be there in my catalog then, right? No, it's not there in my catalog. It's not even there in my compute. Okay, it was there in my compute. Yeah. So you go into compute, then you check in the libraries, and you see I have installed these two libraries for you. Let's say if you want to install a new library, click on install new one. Check by py, and then you can just search any library. Let's say pandas. So this will install pandas for this. And this happens when it stops executing. That means your library has been installed in your compute. And whenever this compute starts, it preload this library first, then the compute happens for your notebook. It contains one notebook, which is Azure SQL. So this is just only two things that you need to know before running and jumping into Databricks. because there are other operations as well. We are going to talk about it. But first, do not worry about this lengthy piece of code. This is very simple. This is just some lines where we are doing some bunch of extracting, transforming, and finally loading our data into our SQL database. Let me query it for you. I hope it lets me log in. Yeah, it's letting me log in. So this is so what you need to do, you need to create a database first here. And just when you create a database, that's it. We are going to create this table from our query, from our notebook, from our ETL API script, in other words. So I'm importing my library. And for this activity, creating ETL pipeline, what we are doing, we are fetching our Nifty 50 stocks data into our SQL database. And this will happen daily. So daily 50 records will be inserted into our SQL database. Okay. Because each record is going to represent the daily activity of stock. And for 50, they're going to be 50. So this happens every day. So what I have done here, I do have one equity file on my GitHub source, and I'm reading using GitHub engine, which is not, it's not a GitHub engine, it's an engine to read any Excel sheets. I'm using read Excel here and creating a data frame. So this data frame is not just contain just 50, it contains more than 50 shares. I'm just executed this command for you. And if I add one more, let me just add one more, I can show you. Yeah, right there. If we see the length of this equity data frame, this is going to be 4244. But we really do not require 4244 because that is too much, right? Let's just work upon on 50 shares. So these are the security ID for 50 shares right there, security ID. And we need the security code because we are going to use this BSC library, which do have a function called get code, which requires as an input of stock security code, which I have shown you there. This is going to be the security code. And in case if you want to download this equity file for you, I'm going to provide this link in the description section. Just select the equity from there and just submit. Once you submit this, the tabular data is going to load for you and you can download by clicking here on the download button. Once you have done this part, what we need to do, this equity data frame consists of more than 4,000 data points, right? For each stock, it has separate rows, but we need only 50 uh, rows. So I'm filtering it out using this isin function, data frame isin function. It's a pandas isin function, and I'm filtering using this list. So whenever a row, a security code is contained within this list, I'm going to filter that out. Basis this security ID. Let's say for security, this if I show you much more than that, then there is going to be Adani Enterprise. Then Adani Enterprise is going to retain, it's going to filter out, and so on for all the stocks as well. Once you have done that part, we are going to loop on this is the equity data frame, Nifty 50. I can do one thing for you. Let's just cut this part from here. And this is, let me just show you how 50, this is the one. And if I execute this part, let me execute this. Yeah, cool. So you see, now we do have only 50. This is 49 as an index because index starts from 0. So we now care about the first column only. When we care about first column, why? Because the function which I have just shown you, I need to add one code here because I have removed a little bit of code. Yeah, yeah, right there. So this is the object which I have created from the library. This is created empty list because every time when I call this API, this is going to provide me a key value pair, return a key value pair for the stock, means a dictionary. So we are going to have a dictionary. We are going to remove two columns, which is buy and sell, because that is not very helpful for our analysis and this activity. So once we do that for all the stocks, for each iteration, we are storing the same in our list of stock in this list. And eventually this list is going to create a data frame for us. Let me run this for you. Yeah. So this is going to call for today's because the latest updated date is today's 29th of November, because the market is already closed. And This will run for almost 1 to 2 minutes. Sometimes it takes time because as per depend upon the servers. And I have kept a time to sleep here because I'm using this. I really do not want to get blocked from BSC servers, as whenever we make an API call on their server, it overloads their network. Over the network overhead increases. And once this will execute in a moment, and for a moment, we let's talk about the piece of code what we are doing here. So we are calling BSC API reference. This is not, so this is going to be now transformation only because I have separated transformation code. Yeah, this is going to have a new title and show title, and I'm going to just paste here. Yeah, cool. So this is calling BSC API for fetching stock data, for example, price, code, updated data, date, open price, and how this is going to look like. Let me show you. If I do that part, this is the table which I have created. Yeah, select. This is the table which I have created. We don't need Groupon because I was doing something else at that time. So right there, you can see, right there, you can see this is my data. Oops, no. So this has a bunch of columns, company name, current value change, P change is percentage change of today, updated date is today's date, and then we are going to have much more than that. It's not coming in a sorted order. So in case if you want a sorted order, you can use order by as well. And then security ID and bunch of different column as well, which we are seeing here. Right? Yeah, this is got executed now, and you can see 29th. There is a data of 29th as well. So just to show you what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete today's data from my database. So if I execute this query again, this API script, this is going to push today's data again. So delete from table name. Table name is going to be my first we start with our database. Yeah, this is going to be my table name, Nifty table. I can also write my database name as well, 5050, like this. This is going to be very much fine. Yeah, my database is Nifty DB. Delete from this table where the date of table in updated on is going to be the date or as date because we are comparing with cast again, and instead of date we are going to use get date because today is 29th November, right? And if I use get date, it will going to convert both. This is going to delete 50 records. It says updated on is an invalid column. Why? Updated because there is a spelling error. UPDATED. Updated on. I don't think so. There is any issue. Maybe some other issues. Let me see. Yeah. Let's just copy this and paste this here. Let's start. Let's run this again. Yes, you can see I have affected 50 rows. That means I have deleted 50 rows from my database. So if I execute this again, I've just executed it again. You can see there are data of 29th of November, but I've just deleted, so there won't be any more. So you can see there are just 24th of November's data, 28th of November data. Even if I order by uh, dated on, let me just paste D BSC, yeah, in the decreasing order. So in the decreasing order, the latest date you will see is the 28th of November, not today's date, because we have just deleted. So what we are going to do now, we do have daily today's data because we have just called by API script. And once we have done that part, we are just renaming some of the columns name as per SQL standards and as per Azure SQL standards, and to make it more meaningful. You can see one more thing here in the part of data cleaning. All of these bunch of last few columns have some strings added to them because this is the total traded value 8.94 crores. And we do not really require CR dot crores, LAKH lakhs, crores again and lakhs again because that doesn't make any sense in terms of data. We are going to use as a numerical so we can proceed with any kind of aggregation for any kind of analysis and anything which is a part of our financial modeling. Because end of the this project, what we are going to do, we are going to start with financial modeling, creating small moving average, exponential moving average. If the stock is moving is like currently floating above my 200 moving average, then this shows that stock is still having some strength and can rally up in the next few days. This is going to be very much helpful and can help us build algo trading, right? It's a step. Then now we are going to do is to remove this LAKH is basically to transform and clean my data and transform my data. So I'm renaming in the first few columns, steps, lines of piece of code, and there I'm renaming, I'm modifying my data type. Don't worry about the piece of code. I'm going to provide this notebook in my GitHub. You can just directly go there and download this as a zip, and or you can like clone in your directory using GitHub desktop. Once you have done this part, I am going to execute this again. Run cell. Once I run cell again, what you are going to see now this time we do not have any LAKH or CR dot. This is now ready for our data frame. Now it's totally ready to be pushed in our SQL database. And this is today's date, right? The updated date, because today we are running it on 29th of November. If you are executing this on on let's say tomorrow, which is 30th of November, so this data will change. Some of the data will change because the current value will change. Percentage, what will happen with Bajaj Financial Limited tomorrow will be there, and then you can have a time series data. This is my like this is a very interesting part, because previously I have recorded a video. You can find that in our YouTube channel, where I am doing the same thing, but in that video what I'm doing is like pushing my data into Azure SQL Server in my local host. But there you do not really require JDBC driver, because that is not PySpark. PySpark runs on Java, because Java itself built upon Spark is itself built upon Java. So you need Java communication and connection to communicate with any SQL server. So there we require JDBC, right, to make a connection with our database. So that is how you can make a connection with our database. Don't worry about the code again. I'm going to provide you. And in the what I'm doing here, I'm checking first if the table is already there in my data. Then please do not create. Except please create. This is the create query, which is you can use this query to create a table, which I do have already, because I do have that in my database. So this will not execute, because this will be this will not end up in a error, because there I'm reading this table name Nifty 50 table, which is this one, Nifty 50 table, right? And if I do not have this table in my database, then what would happen? The try block will fail, and the accept block will run, which is going to create a table. So this is the last piece of code, which is very easy. What I'm doing here, I'm retrieving the maximum date of this piece of code. So if I show you how, you can see I'm using the max function on what my column updated on. Why I'm doing that part? Because instead of group by, I'm going to use group by now. And let's see what is the maximum date. So you can see we don't need group by, because it groups on our data, and then it going to tell you what is the maximum date. So the maximum date is of 28th, right? And what is the maximum date of our data frame? Right there, because we know this is of 29th data. So the maximum of our data frame